welcome back. I just had a conversation with Peggy about starting first, but I wanted to start off by saying please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification so you don't miss on any episodes. If you are listening to the audio version of this episode, comment, rate us, whatever you gotta do. And yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna let Peggy take this one because this was all her idea. I think it's a great idea. I'm just not well versed in it, and so she's gonna share with us.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to my TED Talk. So today's episode was based off. It came as an idea randomly. One of my colleagues had a lesson that I walked into, and the kids had to do the reading. I know most of them were doing it just to do it so they can get the grade. I'm not sure. Some of them I had to explain to them, and they kind of started to get oh crap, I do this. But what?
Or I can really.
Yes. And the thing that stood out the most for me when I was reading some of the components of this, I'm like, oh shit, this is me and my business partner. We do this all the time. So this time around, we're going to be discussing imposter syndrome. Like, when you think of an imposter, you really think oh, you're fake, you're not really who you say you are.
Right.
But
that's what the disconnect is from me.
Yes. Like, you're an imposter.
Yeah.
How dare you? But syndrome, people will confuse it and think it's an actual disease. Like, when we hear certain syndromes, but it's not a disease in a sense where a doctor can give you meds for it. It's literally you in your head thinking you're not good enough for certain things. So, for those of you who are not aware what imposter syndrome is I'm pulling this from the actual content work that we had to deal with in the classroom. So imposter syndrome first described in a 1978 academic paper. So it wasn't something that existed before. Like, there was no name for it. So who knows? People probably was feeling this way, but there was no actual name for it. So imposter syndrome is characterized by intense feelings that make you believe that you are inadequate or a fraud, even if your accomplishments prove otherwise. Essentially, people with imposter syndrome do not internalize their success. Imposter syndrome goes by numerous names: imposter phenomenon, imposterism, imposter feelings, imposter experiences. Though there are slight distinctions to these constructs, the common element is having the internal experience of incompetence and fraudulence, specifically related to achievement situations like school and workplace. So for those of you who are not aware of the definition, I just gave it to you. But you can always Google it. We're big on Google.
What's the Webster dictionary version or Google?
Well, I didn't Google it, but I can definitely Google it now.
It's probably the same thing, so I take that back.
Yeah, okay. So, we did do a polling question, and again, thank you guys for being active with us, with responding to our polling questions. We love when you guys interact with us because it really helps our show, especially if it's something that we need people's input. So, the question that was asked on our IG story, do you know what imposter syndrome is? 64% of you guys said yes, which is pretty good. And 36% of you said no. And that's perfectly fine. Because me personally, I only knew of the word imposter. I didn't know there was imposter syndrome. Never heard of it until literally a couple of weeks ago. This is why I always tell everyone, you learn something new every day. Look at me at this big old age, 36, not knowing what imposter syndrome is until literally recently, due to
practicing it and not realizing it.
So I thought it was pretty cool. So what we want people to understand is with imposter syndrome, people will tend to feel like a fraud and believe that others think more favorably of their success and achievements than they do. Fear that other people will discover that they are a fraud and believe they are a failure just as they believe themselves to be. And have difficulty internalizing their successes. And as a result, attribute their achievements to external factors. So like I have, people be like, I'm so proud of you, you're doing so well, like, you're what's the word? You're inspiration. When people ask, like, how do you handle all this, da, da, da. And I'm like, I don't know how to act, not in a good way. Like, I'm like, oh, thank you. But in my head, I'm like, am I really doing that good? Like, really? Like, you're second guessing yourself. You're kind of dumbed down what you've done so far. At work, I feel like I'm not doing enough what I'm supposed to do. I feel like me having the master's in education title behind my name is not enough. But trust and believe that's never gonna make me go and get my PhD. I'm done with school. I am done. Hopefully you guys don't have to refer back to this video, but I'm done. I'm tired. But I feel like I'm not doing enough or whatever. So it makes me wonder, like, dang, when I hear my students, well, the ones who caught wind of the podcast, one of them actually watches it. She's like, Miss, I didn't know, literally this is how she talks to me. I didn't know this is what you be doing. She was like, you're a successful Black woman. Like, you teach us full time. You got a podcast and these other business. Oh my God, you're an inspiration, Miss. Ooh, literally, this is how she talks to me. And in my head, I'm like, I'm still trying to downplay it, but I have a young Black woman who's 16, 17, who's watching my podcast and probably following my business pages, right? And sees that I'm an inspiration, that I'm motivating her to do something similar. But I don't see that. I'm so engrossed in my mind, like, oh, I don't think I'm doing enough. Or, yeah, I did something. It's like something little, but it's something big. Like, people see that it's bigger. And not factoring in that I took a lot of time and energy to create these businesses. A lot of energy to do this podcast. And then my newest, biggest venture is my venue event space that I just started out with my other business partner. And so I'm not thinking like how someone else may see that, oh my God, that's so dope that you're doing it. Like, how'd you do it? And I'm thinking like, so I'm littling what I've accomplished, which took so much time, energy, and effort to do. And I feel like it's less than, or it's not enough. And other people see it as something so much bigger.
Do you think it's because your idea for those business ventures are not where you want it to be or where you anticipated it to be? And that's why you can't accept the fact that in everyone else's eyes it's successful?
I think so. But I try not to think so much of it like that because I don't want to sabotage what I created. Yeah. And we know self-sabotage is a thing. Like, you do all these things and then you start sabotaging. No one else is doing it but you. You sabotage what you put so much work and effort into. No matter what it may be. It can be something so small as you doing a DIY project yourself. And then you stare at it for so long and then you psych yourself into thinking this shit's horrible when someone else walks into your space like, oh my God, that looks so nice. You're like, oh, this whole thing, like, no, it's missing this. You notice the imperfections, but I, as the outsider, do not notice it until you point it out. Right. And I think we do it a lot to ourselves, especially with women. As women, we do it a lot to ourselves. Like, I might point out how cute y'all feel, girl, but they got this little string hanging here, and I'm like, I didn't even see the daggone string. Why you bring that?
I wonder what the root of that is. Is it because we didn't have people acknowledge us at such a young age and was always like, you did great, but you need to do more. You did great, but you need to do more.
You know what I think it is? I don't know if in the Cape Verdean culture it's done.
I already know what
but
you're saying. Yes.
I feel like in the Black culture in general, we have, unfortunately, have been told this. We have to go 10 times harder. Because of how society view Black people, especially more so as Black women, because we're already hyperly sexualized, right? And if we're darker tone, we're seen as more aggressive when we are not. Anyone can be aggressive. Anyone can be sexual. Anyone can be sexual. It doesn't have to be just Black women. And a lot of it has to do with systematic racism, believe it or not. So, and then unfortunately, our parents always tell us to go harder than what my white counterpart is doing because they don't have to do as much for them to be seen. But I gotta do more to be seen and respected to do the exact same fucking thing that they are doing. Yeah. So I think that's the other reason why we kind of self-sabotage ourselves. Yeah. Another question that was asked, because I'm flipping between the questions and like the actual research that was done. The other question that was asked, do you think you suffer? Oh, I think we misworded something. Do you think you suffer from imposter syndrome? Jesus Christ. Girl. Okay, I'm not reading it. Do you think you suffer from imposter syndrome? 64% of you said yes. 36% said maybe they're not sure. And I wish I could talk to those individuals one-on-one and say, what makes you feel like, for sure you're suffering from it, not denying that you probably are. And for those who are not sure, give me certain things, like let's have a regular conversation to see, because I didn't know I was already doing that to myself. But I recognized it as I was reading this. I was like, oh shit, me and Jess do that a lot to each other. Sometimes I'm checking her on it, like, yo, no, don't do that. You did a great job, blah, blah, blah. And then she'll check me on mine, like, oh, girl, this whole thing. Like, no. You know what I mean? And Jessica is usually the main person, like, encouraging me. Not saying my other friends aren't, but main person, like, I'm about to start this other business. What you think?
At first, I started off like, bitch, you're not tired? But then I'm like, bet. And then I'll promote it as much as I can.
I'll come to her like, what do you think about this name of this business? Like my tutoring name. I'm like, what do you think about this name? She's like, oh my God, this is so dope, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, she's egging me on, saying how dope the business is, but here I am thinking like, it's not doing what I want it to do because I look at other, and I know it's always good to take a look at what your, I guess, competition is doing, so you see where you improve, but don't be so engrossed in it because you're like, oh, I'm not there yet, because maybe it's not your time to be there yet, and that's what I constantly have to remind myself, because even with the venue space, there's so many interruptions that it was so fucking frustrating. Like, yo, why aren't we where we want to be? Like, you know, so many other things. I don't want to go in so much detail because me and my business partner already said, like, we want to have an episode where we sit down and discuss, like, our highs and our lows in regards to that. And seeing, like, oh my God, look at this person's business being so successful. But it's like, who knows what their struggle was prior to them being as successful, because certain things do take time. Especially when you're new and people don't know you. They're like, how do I know you're going to provide great customer service?
I think our surrounding counterparts that are just as competitive, a lot of the times their success is relied on popularity.
True.
So they just have people that support them blindly and not giving real constructive criticism, because I'm always quick to big up the next person who has a small business or starting a business, and I always try to like go to the black and brown businesses more than whatever. I mean, granted, there's gonna be times when I need to cut corners because cost, but for the most part, I promote it, or I'll you know, create business with them. But I think what we lack when we do that is not providing constructive criticism, because like we could all do. We don't know, like, we didn't grow up in a space where all this information was provided to us. We're kind of just, like, figuring it out on our own. And sometimes things like customer service or just product presentation and quality. Because I told Peggy, like, my sister up and down vouches for her facial serum. I can't wear that shit. I can't put that shit on my face. But my sister is like, this is the holy grail. Like, this is what I'm gonna.
When she told me, I haven't slept in months, but you can't tell because of this. I said, seriously? She's like, I haven't slept in months. She hasn't slept in 10 months. She'll tell everybody that. I haven't slept in 10 months since she had her baby. But again, like, my sister can use it and love it, and I would want to use it because I see what it does for my sister, but it just doesn't work for me. Right. And I think the reason why a lot of our other counterparts are successful is because of popularity and not necessarily because of quality. So I don't think. I mean, I'm gonna say this to Peggy all the time. Like, don't think for 2 seconds that you're not doing a good job. But I think it's because it's not translating in sales sometimes, or there's certain months that are really, really slow, or just promotion is really slow, that she feels like, fuck, I need it. Even now with the podcast, because I haven't experienced that until I started the podcast, I'm always trying to find something to make it better. And I'm always taking in criticism, but sometimes that can be it's hard. I don't know how you used to take my criticism. Because I used to be like, bitch, you have no fucking idea how hard this is. Peggy having all these businesses, and then being able to take, because I'm not fucking nice at all. Well, I don't know. Am I mean when I give constructive criticism? I don't know. Your delivery may be mean, but whatever. I grew up with rough parents. So it's like, okay.
I'm like, bitch, that shit is, no, it's not gonna work.
Like, that's it? That's all you can say? Girl, I heard worse.
So as much as I'm like, give us constructive criticism, I'd rather you not. Don't do that. Unless you have an editing tip or whatever, like actual, like, here's a software that I think would be useful. Not to say, oh, I don't like this, I don't think you should go in and out, or like, you know what I mean? Like, bitch, no. Do you watch and listen to podcasts? Because no. Okay, I'm sidetracking. But.
No, it's fine. So what I thought was cool on this document was letting people know what imposter syndrome is not, for those of you who may not know what it is. So People generally assume that imposter syndrome is a mental health disorder because of the use of the word syndrome. However, it is not a mental illness. In fact, imposter syndrome is not listed in the diagnostical, the book that handles all mental disorders. Those who went to school for psychology, licensed mental health counselors, they know what it is. Imposter syndrome is not in that book. So it's not considered a mental illness. However, imposter syndrome can interfere with your psychological well-being and lead to depression and low self-esteem. I think a lot of you people suffer from that. Some people with imposter syndrome might also engage in maladaptive behaviors that get in the way of a person's
we're not gonna
ability.
go bypass the maladaptive. What the fuck is that?
Well, let me finish that last sentence while you look it up. Maladaptive behaviors that get in the way of a person's ability to function well in everyday activities such as procrastination or overworking.
Hold on. Bitch, don't look at me. I didn't even look in her direction. I knew she was looking at me.
Sorry guys, I snorted.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Well, it did explain what maladaptive behaviors.
After I read the...
It's pretty much typical things that you used to do, but now this behavior you took on because of your low self-esteem and you always in your head.
Tears in your eyes.
So 11, and from you being so much in your head that you start doing things that interfere with your daily activities, interfere with what you enjoy doing. And you can circle in with the depression piece because it's like you get so engrossed in that it leads to your depression that you don't want to do anything.
So can I just add to that?
Yes.
So I've been dealing with imposter syndrome since the day I started my current job. And I've told you in our mental health episode that it's gotten progressively worse with my procrastination. Like, I procrastinate, but these days I'm like, bitch, get it together. Like, I can do that. I can snap a finger just to get it together. Procrastination probably lasts a day, max 2 days. But now it lasts for weeks. Like, when I say it's like hell. And I think it has everything to do with the fact that I feel like an imposter, or I'm dealing with imposter syndrome when it comes to my job. Like, they tell me oh, it's a fucking long story. It doesn't matter. I'm not even gonna go there. But as of recent, a little after my brother's wedding, I physically could not get out of bed. Like, I thought I was sick. So I called my boss and I was like, oh, I'm not gonna make it in today. It was super last minute. I was like, I'm not gonna make it in today. Not feeling well. She's like, okay, I feel better. That night, the amount of anxiety, I couldn't breathe. I couldn't catch a breath with the thought of going to work. Like I couldn't get a solid breath in. And I was like, I have to call out the next day. So I did that.
I have a perfect clip for you to put right here.
And then my boss was like, okay. And then my cousin
was like, bitch, you're gonna get fired.
She was like, okay, hope you're feeling better. Let me know if there's anything I can help you with. Blah, blah, blah. And I kept saying, I don't feel good. I don't feel good. Because at the beginning, I felt ill. Like, the thought of getting dressed to go to work was
low vibration.
heavy.
It's very low vibrational.
Yes. Yeah. And my body felt heavy. Nausea just kept sitting in my chest because I'm gonna throw up if I walk out this door.
I know you're allergic to work, girl.
No.
The next polling question was, what aspect of your life suffers the most from it? 56% of you said work, 11% said parenting, and 33% said relationships.
Where do you suffer?
Work.
If you do. Okay.
It's usually my job. So who struggles with the imposter feelings? It breaks it down here.
Let me guess, Black people?
First was researched in 1978, like I said before. However, over the years, numerous studies have found that both men and women and people across different cultures and occupations admit to feeling like an imposter at some point in their lives, essentially as discussed in a 91 academic paper they did. Anyone can identify as an imposter as long as they fail to internalize their success. The Dr. Harvey also found that imposter syndrome is not limited to highly successful people. So don't think it's only connected to people who are super successful. No. In fact, if you struggle with imposter experiences, you are not alone. According to a 1985 paper, Dr. Matthew and Dr. Clance, about 70% of sample expressed having imposter feelings at some point in their lives. In addition, notable successful people have admitted to experiencing imposterism, including Arthur Maya Angelou, technology leader Sheryl Sandberg, and actor Tom Hanks. Though diverse groups of people have struggled with imposterism, people from marginalized backgrounds tend to experience it more. This can be a result of discrimination, stereotype threat, or microaggressions that potentially lead to marginalized groups to internalize feelings of fraudulence and not belonging. Hence, a lot of black people will always say, oh, we need a seat at a table. At this point, I'm very much content with creating our own tables in our chairs and we sit our ass
I don't want to
down.
be at that fucking table.
Don't bring me to that table because I'm going to be pissed off. And that's another thing with the double consciousness that black people tend to experience.
Have to code switch.
Yes, constantly double checking. Did they do that or say that because I'm black, or is it because it's just because of what it is? Because you're constantly, and the thing is, I used to think that, I always thought that way with certain situations. Is it because I'm black? I don't know. But didn't know the term double consciousness. As black people, constantly thinking like, is this person doing this shit because of my black ass, or is it because of them literally saying you're not doing this? Because I know sometimes when I do certain things, and if someone's criticizing me, I know it's because of what I just did.
The quality of work.
The quality of work. But certain things that get said, and this is why microaggressions cannot be pointed out, because certain things are really, it's not really small, because it's a big thing, because first you experience shock and you don't know what the fuck, like, what the fuck did you just say to me? And then second, you realize, yo, what you said to me was low-key, literally racist. It's not even low-key, it's racist, but you can't pinpoint it. It's not like the person literally pointed at you and said, you're a nigger. They literally said certain things that you're like, wait, what? Like,
make it make sense.
Make it make sense. Like hearing things where touching someone's hair without permission, saying slight comments like, oh, your hair looks nice when it's straight, so you don't like it when it's curly, you don't like it when it's in its natural state. What are you trying to say? Yeah. Oh, you speak so eloquently. What do you mean I don't know how to speak English? Because I didn't know English belonged to white people. I mean, I know. You know what I mean? So certain things like that, you're constantly wondering, like, am I good enough to be in this realm? And it's like, that shit is fucking stressful. Especially someone, it makes you wonder, like, I remind people sometimes, there's nothing wrong with getting all your degrees, your awards for all the work that you put in. But at the end of the day, in this country that we live in, this society, they always want to remind you that your ass is black. Who are you? I'm better than you. I'm superior.
Stay in your place.
Stay in your place. And it's like, and God forbid you show some type of aggression, even if it's not aggression at all. You're upset. Oh my God, I'm calling the cops. Call the po-po-ho, because I'm tired of y'all. So a lot of us may suffer from it, and I've seen from the polling questions, a lot of you guys feel like you're not good enough, especially at work. Because it's like, especially if you get a position that you probably got promoted to, right? You're like, damn, am I qualified for this position? And it's like, you are qualified. Trust me.
Yeah.
Because you're there. They see the work, and it's like, and for those of you who are religious, you may have been praying for this. You prayed, you got what you prayed for, and then you're second guessing it, like you're downplaying it, or you're not wondering, do I deserve this? But I'm like, you prayed on this. You did what you did. You did it with due diligence, and then for you to second guess or sabotage yourself into thinking you don't deserve that position that you busted your ass for, went to school for, and whatever else you had to do to get there. So I can see why people may feel heavily about the workspace. Parenting, I mean, I can't really speak on the parenting piece. I'm not a parent, but
I can understand it though.
I can understand it to a certain extent. Like, you know, there's no manual to having children. Every kid that come out, they're fucking different.
Yep. There's literally no one manual.
Like, you know, some people be trying to tell people how to raise their kids and all this other stuff. Every child is different. And with science and technology, we truly understand autism, truly understand how certain things might affect your children. Some kids can't handle too much sensory, like too much stimulation. They go into sensory overload, like they don't like too much noise. Like things like our parents weren't aware of, that they just thought as, oh, they're just acting up, when in fact the child wasn't. But I feel like as a parent, you may feel like you're not doing enough for your child. Or if your child gets sick, you think it's your fault. I had to remind my niece, look, from the time he hits 1, especially when he starts going to daycare, into like kindergarten, elementary school, I feel like that stage of their life, they're bound to get sick. Because they're around other children that have germs. Their parents may send them to school and they're still sick. or they're about to catch a sickness that no one is aware of until you show symptoms. So them being sick is not your fault. It's going to happen. Just like us, we don't intend on getting sick. You're fine today, and then you go to sleep, you wake up the next morning, your nose is stuffy, your throat is itchy. You're like, yo, I was just fine like 12 hours ago. And then some people, I think 33% said, or I could be reading it wrong, there was a percentage of you guys said your relationships. Relationship, it could be any type of relationship. Didn't necessarily mean intimate, so it could have been a business relationship, work relationship with your colleague, or obviously your intimate relationship with whoever. So you may feel inadequate for that person, or you may feel like maybe I'm not good enough for this person.
I've definitely felt that.
Really? Indulge.
It was more of just like he was so ambitious, and he had his whole life planned out for him, and I was like, oh my god, I'm going to impede on those plans because my life is in shambles, and I don't know what the fuck I want, and I don't. Now I'm uncomfortable with people who are just like so gung ho and set on what they want in their lives, and like it's a clear, direct, like nothing can stray from this, and he was very much that person, and so it caused a lot of anxiety in me because I'm just like, can I match that energy? Can I provide the stability, the support, and match him? Like, can I do that? And I used to always second guess myself, like I'm not that person. I can't be that person. I want to be this person because I love them, but unfortunately I can't be that person. Like I thought I could. I was like, okay, I'll just match his energy. And now I felt like a fucking crazy person just chasing something that was not fucking there. It was a figment of my imagination. So yeah, but and then so I like, well, he broke it off with me, but in my head I'm like, I think we both knew it just wasn't gonna work, and we just didn't have the balls to fucking quit. So he ended up doing it.
So it kind of goes into emotion. So if you can relate, for those of you who are aware that you have imposter syndrome, so two emotions that people with imposter syndrome commonly feel are anxiety and fear. When people feel anxious, they feel uncertain about the future. Anxiety can manifest in tension in the body, an increased heartbeat, an inability to stay still and focused, and hurried speech. People with imposter syndrome experience anxiety because they are not sure.
It's just the definition should just say Jessica Fernandez. Unsure.
They should put your picture.
Slurred speech.
See Exhibit A.
the epitome of imposter syndrome. Literally, you're reading. I'm like, yep.
People with imposter syndrome experience anxiety because they are not sure what will happen, when, and if someone finds out that they are a fraud. On the other hand, when people are fearful, they feel there is impending danger. Fear can result in tense bodies, sweaty palms, an increased heartbeat, and wide eyes. People who suffer from imposterism might be fearful about what will happen if they fail or are evaluated poorly. Will they get kicked out of a program or class? Will they be bullied? Will they be embarrassed in front of others? People
oh my god, I live in cringe and embarrassment. So
people with imposter syndrome also tend to experience self-doubt, shame, and frustration.
I promise you, it just needs to say Jessica Fernandez, and then that.
See,
I don't
Image
disagree.
1.2.
And with outside of the bullying part, even then, I kind of have some like fear of bullying, but not in the sense where like I'll just match it with anger, so it's fine. But yeah, I live in fear. I live in cringe. I'm still replaying some cringy moments in my head from the wedding that I went to last week. It's still like randomly pops in my head like, ew, Jessica, you did that?
I've done that. There are things like, mind you, I'm driving on my way to work or going
just
home,
chilling,
and randomly the thought of something stupid that I allowed to happen to me, or I've done, I'm like, Peggy, what the fuck were you thinking? But not giving myself the grace to understand that I was young. You know, don't beat yourself about it. And girl, nobody else remembers that shit but you from 20 years ago. You're 36. Why are you still thinking about it? And that's why I say, like, we get into our heads and we fuck ourselves up for overthinking about certain things. The documents that the kids had to read, it also offered some tips to, like, try to overcome it. And we get it. Like, me and Jessica always says, everything is easier said than done. but it's always good to try something.
Mm-hmm.
So what can we do to overcome our imposter feelings? It says talk to others, like how we're talking to y'all about it with our experiences. Start talking to people. You'll be surprised how many people actually feel this way. You're like, oh shit, like there's a group of us. You know. They said, you know, talk with friends or people that you trust, start a conversation where you share your own experiences, which we're doing here. There's feelings of fraud and imposter, and invite others to share theirs if they feel comfortable. Then together with your friends, discuss what strategies others have used to tackle their challenges, and come up with a way to support each other. So maybe if you have a tip on how you overcame it or starting to overcome your imposter syndrome feelings, like if you have a trusted circle, maybe you can indulge in that, because some of your friends may be feeling that way, but we just never had that discussion. Right. It's almost like this weird thing, like we never discussed sex with our parents. It was like we figured it out, right? Engage in positive self-talk. A lot of us self-sabotage. We talk negatively about ourselves. And there was a post I saw somewhere, they said not to speak negatively about yourself because your soul or your brain can't determine.
Like they can't differentiate.
It can't differentiate from it.
So you saying that I not met someone, but like at my brother's wedding, I became cool with his friend's girlfriend, and like she's such a fucking vibe. Like she's mad cool, and she had asked me because we exchanged numbers, and I was like, I see your boyfriend all the time. I see like all of his friends. You're never there. Like what the fuck? And so she's like, oh, we gotta hang out. I'm saying all this to say, when we were texting back and forth, she had asked me like, oh, share what do you do? Like, let me know about you. Like, I heard you got a podcast, blah, blah, blah. And so instead of going like, because I cringe whenever someone, I don't know why, I don't know if this is you. I cringe when people be like, oh my God, I heard your podcast, like death, like die. And then, or when someone like, oh my God, like, how's your podcast going or whatever. So she had asked me to just like basically explain myself, like who am I, like
for some reason we all forget who we are. We was like, tell me about yourself,
right? And so my initial reaction was like, oh, I'm complicated as fuck. I was in the process of just like speaking so negatively about me because I'm more comfortable in that space. I can acknowledge those things better than like boasting about myself. And so I kind of took a twist to it, and I still cringe when I think about it. And I was like, oh, I'm beautifully complicated. That's what I told her. And I'm still to this day cringing when I said that, because I'm like, why would you describe yourself like that? Because I was trying to get away from the whole negative talk of myself. But I also wanted to let her know, like, I'm confusing as fuck. I'm not normal. So I said beautifully complicated, and I'm still living in cringe with that.
Living in cringe.
Like, now that I'm talking about it, I'm like, ugh, just kill me. Like, I wish I could just delete the message and delete it from my fucking memory at this point. But yeah, I'm more comfortable talking negatively because that's something that I'm familiar with. I can accept that more than I can accept boasting about myself.
Yes. People with imposter syndrome generally engage in negative self-talk, the mean and discouraging comments they say to themselves. Some examples of this is I'm not smart enough to get into my first choice college, or they only accepted me because they felt bad for me, or the whole they only chose me because, you know, they had to make up their quota for a black person to work there, right? Sometimes it be true though, I'm not gonna lie.
But you're like the most qualified black person.
Yeah. To begin to confront imposter experiences, people need to be kinder to themselves by engaging in positive self-talk, which involves saying encouraging and uplifting statements to yourself. Some of those examples could be: you worked hard, you earned your accomplishments, you are smart enough to be in this class. By engaging in positive self-talk, you unlock optimism and self-confidence. So it said some tips for those of you who struggle how to begin is make a list of the negative comments you say to yourself. Like, literally actually write it down. Then next to each negative comment, write a positive comment next to that negative instead. And then devise a plan to interrupt your negative self-talk with positive self-talk. So when you start feeling those feelings or the thought of whatever comment you're going to make that's negative, start training your mind to start thinking positively, right? And we're not saying, like, you know how, like, people say always be optimistic. I'm optimistic, but I have a sense of reality mixed in there. Like, yes, I always want good things to happen, but with reality, there's a possibility like something might interfere with it. Yeah, so I'm like in the middle. Like, I want good things to happen. I always try to think positively, but I'm also well aware that I'm not gonna lie to myself, because if something bad does happen that day, where the things that I was looking forward to does not happen, I'm gonna be upset, but I'm gonna realize, okay, everything happens for a reason. Maybe there was a reason behind it. Blah blah blah. Because I feel like if I cloud myself into thinking positive things only, when something does bad happen, I feel like I create that depression for myself. Like, oh my God, nothing good ever happened to me. So
you ain't saying nothing that ain't wrong.
Because I'm like, I'm not always the optimistic person. Because people might think, oh my God, you're so negative. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm being a realist here. Build an emotion management strategy toolbox.
The fuck?
I think it's more so for high school students, but I guess it can help. So pretty much action strategy, things that you could actually do. So like these are ways to use your body to regulate your emotions for those of you who start to feel those emotions that seek social support. So going for a walk, going for a run, taking deep breaths.
That's me at work every day. I'm like,
literally.
At least every 5 minutes.
Always sighing at work, and people are like, damn, that's the type of day you have? I'm like, yep. Thought strategies to regulate your emotions is like visualizing a successful outcome or reframing everything you do as a learning experience. So like, I think a few times you have told me when I used to say like, I'm so pissed off that I wasted my time with this person.
It's not wasted.
And you and a few of my other friends like, yo, it's not time wasted. You may feel like you're wasting your time, but
can you imagine if you didn't go through those situations? Because I feel like it built mental fortitude and it helped you understand what you need for yourself and the person that you're becoming. So if you didn't go through those things, when your significant other who you are now comes along and he's ready and you're not mentally in that space, you would have missed out on something.
I'm not her trying to read me and say a word.
Now it's my TED Talk. But yeah, I will always be grateful for the shitty relationships that I've been in, even though they built a lot of trauma in me.
Yes. I mean, I'll say this. In that moment, I felt that way because I was in my emotions. I was in my feelings. It was like, yo, I did put time and energy that I'll never get back or whatever. So, but like you explained it that way, it makes sense because it's like those things mentally prepare me, even though it was fucking traumatic. I don't know why we have to go through so much traumatic experiences.
Like I'm just tired of these fucking life lessons.
It's like, Jesus, I have passed the test.
I've done
no more exams, please.
Yeah. I've submitted my final exam, please.
No more. I'm done. So leverage your strengths to tackle the areas where you feel like an imposter. So like, make a list of all your strengths. Then next to each strength, write down what steps you took to get good at that specific skill or activity. Afterwards, write a list of the goals you want to accomplish with an action plan, leveraging some of the steps you took to develop your strengths. So, be self-compassionate. We gotta learn to be compassionate with ourselves. Some of us were so rough.
Yeah.
And our poor bodies probably like, damn, what did I do this time?
We're aging ourselves by doing that.
Yes, we're adding years to our organs when it doesn't need to be that way. How to begin. When working on an assignment or another task, evaluate your goals by asking yourself the following questions. Can I accomplish this by the deadline, if there's a deadline? If you cannot, consider making changes to have a more realistic goal. Will I enjoy myself while doing this task, or am I just doing it to stand out amongst my peers? If you are not enjoying yourself, it is best you consider coming up with a goal that both challenges you accordingly and brings you joy. Remember to always do things that make you happy, guys. And don't do it to flex or prove a point and then you crying behind closed doors. Don't do that. And lastly, do I have the resources to complete the task at hand? If you do not have the resources, either create a plan to attain them or consider another task that you can complete with the resources that you have. Like we said, you can't pour from an empty cup. So if you ain't got it, you ain't got it. Find something that can help you complete whatever it is that you're trying to complete. So again, the form said these are just a few of the ways you can begin to confront your inner imposter. You might find your own ways to manage your imposter syndrome, but whatever you do, the goal is to develop strategies to promote your personal growth, enhance your well-being, build positive relationships, and contribute to your desired goals. So, this is what an assignment.
I'm glad we did this episode because I heard it all the time, but like I couldn't understand the definition because I associated the word imposter with something else.
Yeah.
Like imposter means you are actively faking something.
Yep.
Right? I'm not actively faking, but I feel fake in this moment.
Yep.
Like I feel like I'm being performative. I feel like I'm being this person that I'm not.
And then the syndrome part, like, again, the research said, like, people might think, oh my God, there's something mentally wrong with me, but it's not. It's not even in the books of mental illness that psychologists would use, mental doctors would use. It's just something that it is in your mind. You are in your head in regards to it. You feel like you said, you feel like you are fake. But no one else is calling you an imposter. But you put in your mind that when people find out that you're not good enough at something, if they were to ever find out, who knows, you think they're going to, oh my God, they're going to find out I'm a fake.
Yeah.
I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
I'm not actually good at this. I don't deserve this position at this job.
Right.
Etc. So
I don't deserve to be in this relationship. Yeah. He's too good for me or she's too good for me.
Oh my God. And now that I say that, I forgot to add to this earlier. When I felt being like I was an imposter for this relationship, now that I'm out of that relationship, I'm like, bitch, you the fucking prize. No, he is not what you thought it was. He was the imposter. That's what I'm trying to get to. He was the motherfucking imposter. So.
Ooh, child. So yes, for those of us who are struggling with imposter syndrome, do not let it get the best of you. Again, we know a lot of things are easier said than done, and once you get in your head,
yep.
People don't realize how powerful our mind is. What you do, it will come to fruition. It will manifest itself. So we need to start trying to think positively. And I get it, in the world that we're living in with all this negativity, people dying, all the craziness that's going on in the world, we get it. But the world that you are in, like your bubble that you have with your family, your friends, your home life, try to create a peace with that, right? I'm not saying ignore what's going on in the world because we're living in it, right? Can't ignore it. But to keep your mind at ease, create a safe bubble. A safe bubble for you and those around you. But more so for you because you got to take care of yourself first, right? And be around people like that circle that you have that can help you go through this and be honest with them. If you can't be open with everybody in that circle, if you have a few that you can sit down and have this conversation with, do that. Because you do not want to be 50 years old, but your body feels like it's 70 because you aged yourself progressively due to stress, overthinking, adding on a toll that your body does not need. Like, you want to be able to live long, a healthy life. Right? So, whatever we can do to reduce the stress, because we know as Black people, data always shows that we don't live as long as our white counterparts due to all these other health factors. So let's try to remove some of these health factors from our lives the best that we can.
I don't know why people are so like insisting on living long ass lives.
Well, I don't want to live a long miserable life. If I can no longer function on my own, and I become incompetent, please, I already told God, don't do that to me. But if it's a long life, like I'm 80, I can still move. I'm doing my thing. Sure. I may not want to drive anymore, but like, you
barely want to drive now.
Girl, it's ghetto driving. But I can fully function. Like my kid, if I have kids, my kids and grandkids won't have to really overly worry about me. They might check in, but I can still do that. Then I don't have a problem. But if I gotta be hooked up to a machine to keep me going, give up, let it go. Let it go, please. My mother already said that. She's like, do not keep me on no machines, please. If it's my time to go, it's my time to go. Don't do that. She's like,
I fight with God's doings.
You know what I mean? So I was like, it'll be hard to accept because you're my mother, but I gotta respect your wishes. I wouldn't want you hooked up to a machine, hearing you beep, and hearing the machine beep, and you can't even speak. No. So I don't want that either, and I get it. I don't want no one to hold on to the shell of my body. Don't do that. Make sure you make memories with me so the memories live on. Like you said, create memories, especially in the previous episode, create memories and stuff. That's what you want to have with that person. Right. So yes, long life, a long, healthy life, not a miserable life.
Right. Okay. Well, with that being said,
we have to be kind, learn to be kind with ourselves because this is the only body we have.
I read something where it says, this is not a practice life, this is my only life. So with that being said, with that being said, be nice to yourself. I don't know where I was going with that. I got distracted. Sorry.
I know, because I feel like I was gonna.
There was something there, and I lost it.
But yeah.
Wait, you said something about like, oh, this is the only body you have, and I said it's not your practice life, it's your only life. So make it the life that you want. There
Period.
we go.
That's the quote, y'all. That's the
motherfucking quote. We brought the quotes back just for this episode.
But again, thanks guys for joining us yet again on another episode. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Hope it resonates with you. Peace.
Bye.